Ladies and gentlemen, I'm coming to you with breaking news. There was a hack. There are many hackers on the internet, and one of these hackers, or some group, we're not sure who or what it was, they just dumped a whole bunch of information about Twitch, the website, how it's built, how it works, in addition to everyone's earnings for the past 2 years. Everyone who has gotten a payout from Twitch had their earnings posted in this leak, and that includes mine, which were posted to Reddit. And you might be like, wow, that's weird, that kind of sucks. I would say, as a person, my emotion to that situation was feeling violated in some way. It's usually more of a private thing of how much you earn. Many people over the course of the years that I've been streaming, they're like, hey Neuro, do you mind how much, if I ask how much you make with streaming? Usually I'll give a kind of vague roundabout answer of, I can pay rent and pay the bills and that kind of thing, get by and live on my own, but I'm not a super millionaire like some of the top streamers. There are a lot of streamers who are kind of on the same tier as me. You could say there are more streamers at my tier than they are at the top tier. And since my income and everything was posted in this leak, and it was also posted to Reddit, I might as well just go through and give you some at least rough benchmarks of what it takes to be a full-time streamer, the money in and the money out, and kind of the general trajectory of how you move toward doing this as a gig where it's a thing you're passionate about, transitioning that into a business that you can live off of. So we're going to basically take something that was kind of ugly and nasty and then just grip that with our fist and then make a video and make some content out of it. So you can learn more about how this stuff works under the hood, because the hood has been ripped off the vehicle. So hot off the presses here, I want to go through and show you some of the notes that I took on this, just thinking about how my business works and everything. And if people are here in the Twitch chat for this, feel free to ask if you need clarification or if you want to correct anything if my math is bad, which it probably will be. So I'll show you. We got a nice calculator here just for some general math stuff so we don't mess it up as bad. And then I have a rough outline of what I wanted to talk about here. So streaming, content creation. Talking about content creation, on Twitch, you can make all kinds of content, right? You can make gaming content. You see this shiny thing in the top? That's GM in StarCraft. There aren't very many GMs. And a person who's GM is going to be far and away better than most people who are picking up StarCraft and wanting to learn. So you have a natural point of value of learning how StarCraft works, being able to see someone who's very good at the game and to be able to learn from them. So the first big word that we can break down here for you, let's just get a nice block text thing here, full-time streaming. That is way too large. It's taking up the entire screen and we can't do anything else. Let's take it down. All right. Full-time streaming. What is one of the most important elements of being able to have this be a business that you can live off of? There's a word here, and I'm going to tell you what this word is. And it's this word. Oops. It's value. Value to the viewer, the person who watches the video, the person who's in the chat, the person who's interacting with you. They need to have some value. A lot of people, they think about streaming, they're thinking about, oh, I really like playing StarCraft, I really like playing video games. Look at this guy over here, he's streaming video games and people are throwing money at him. Why don't they throw money at me playing video games? That's because you have to consistently give the viewers value. And the thing that's really different from live streaming and say just a YouTube video production is every second someone's tuning into the chat. If you have a decent sized stream, someone new is tuning in and they're waiting for the next big thing to happen, which means if you want your stream to be consistently valuable, you have to consistently have new and exciting things happening. You can't just play the same video over and over because people say, I've already seen this, and then they'll go away. So you want it to be evolving and changing and fresh and exciting. What are some different kinds of value, just to break this down? Speaking from my position as a StarCraft streamer, let's just write some of this. It's fun to have this big text at the top, but it's more entertaining when you get to see my bad MS Paint handwriting. Let's get this one. A brush. What is this? Kinds of value. Nope, we're doing text. Screw that. Screw that. Kinds of value. All right. What are some types that I bring to the table as a StarCraft streamer? We'll say one could be educational value. We're learning. So I can teach people builds. I can teach them hatchcast pool. I can teach them how to prioritize whether you make drones or whether you make army early on. And that educational value can directly translate into their success on the ladder and also their confidence in the game and their fun in the game. So educational value is something that you can bring, and you can say that the higher you are on the ladder, the higher you are in skill, and the better you are at explaining stuff, the more educational value you can create. So to give a couple other examples in the scene, you've got someone like Lambo, who's a Zerg player, who's better than me by his MMR, but his skill is so much higher than the average viewer that a lot of the detail that he gives will be many steps ahead of what, say, a bronze player is looking to learn. So that's another thing to consider too, is not just what educational value you can bring, but what educational value do people want? And if you're trying to do this full time, you want to think about, all right, what are the average players looking to learn? What are the bronze, the silver, the gold, the plat, the diamond players wanting to improve on in their play? For me, Lambo's stream has value in teaching me as a GM. His play is way better than mine. So when he posts a video, the detail is directly valuable to me, which is why I will subscribe to his channel, because it lets me watch his VODs and I can watch his play and learn. So educational value is a big one here. Another one for full-time streaming would be entertainment. So thinking about making people laugh, making people gasp, making people feel concerned or cringe, just to get the audience to experience some emotion. This doesn't necessarily need to be a positive emotion. As you could probably see on some channels, it's more of like a train wreck or a car crash kind of a thing where there's crazy stuff happening consistently and the chat is all laughing at how messed up everything is. That's still entertainment value, and that's a lot of what drives viewership and support of channels, is they like that intensity. They like that entertainment of a channel. One thing that I do as a streamer that's probably distinguishing me from some other StarCraft streamers is I do funny voices. I can do lots of different effects. I've got characters that I bring to the table.
Homestar Waddle. You can summon me with channel points, and I will show up on the screen and talk to you.
Good Smeagol here. Golem. Let us know if you find the precious, and whenever Neuro needs to know the server in StarCraft, he has me check it, because it turns out the hotkey to get to this scene is the same one as to show the ping and the server in the game.
So just stuff like that would be in my bag of tricks that makes me unique, it makes me different. Some people like that kind of content, some people don't. But ultimately, the kind of entertainment that you should provide is the entertainment that is authentically your own. So I like doing those voices. I did that stuff growing up. I annoyed the hell out of my friends and family just being stuck in the Smeagol voice for weeks at a time. It was obnoxious then, but people love it because I got so much practice in it. So shout out to family members for tolerating me. So there's entertainment value here. What's another major type of value here? You've got interaction. Interaction is one of the most crucial and unique things about Twitch value that's different from videos. With videos, you can do a after the fact, post-game interaction by responding to YouTube comments. But in Twitch streaming, people can make stuff happen in the chat that directly influences what the streamer is talking about or doing in the game, which means that you're part of the show. Like, you're interacting with the broadcaster. The narrative of what happened on the stream that day was influenced by you if you're in the chat or even just supporting the streamer. So say you do a whole bunch of gifted subs and it surprises the streamer and they're really excited and really grateful. You get to invest in supporting someone's business, really making their day, making them happy and excited, and it improves the mood and the morale of the room. Everyone is kind of happy from that. So that would be a reason why a lot of people will support streams. They'll do those big waves of support for a broadcaster they watch a lot because they like that interaction. They like that kind of instant exchange of, you said this, I reply with that, you supported with this, I'm immediately grateful and I can show that to you. So interaction is another major point of value. Then another one you could say would be atmosphere. A stream is kind of like a place, kind of like a bar or a club. Up a Tree Zelda is a friend and fellow streamer of mine who's also a full-time streamer. And he talked about his stream like a bar where a bunch of the Terran fans and stuff hang out. And they're very loyal. They really like going to that bar and other Terran streams. And they like just seeing him fight on the ladder. And it's a comfortable place where he's got amazing audio quality. He's got amazing video quality. He has a lot of unique knowledge and he's got a really cool personality. So it's fun to hang out because his stream has a nice atmosphere. Some people want a really crazy atmosphere that has guns going off and stuff blowing up and the streamer screaming profanity. Other people, they prefer the cozy kind of art stream sort of a thing. Would say if you're looking at the top streams on Twitch, the louder stuff generally makes more money than the cozy stuff, but there's certainly a demand for the cozy stuff and people are willing to invest in streamers with a nice, welcoming and calm atmosphere as well. So those are some of the points of value. You can also say community here, which is kind of like interaction, but community would be a sense of belonging to a group. If you've hung out at a stream for a long time and you're active in the chat, people will know who you are. They'll kind of know what you have a good knowledge base about. They'll know maybe some of the stuff that upsets you and they can kind of work with you and be a friend and engage well with you. And maybe you could play games with them later on. So it's a place where people with shared interests and similar taste in, say, atmosphere, the kind of educational value they want to seek out, the kind of entertainment, the stuff they find funny. So you can find like-minded people in a streaming community. So these are some kinds of value. If anyone in the chat thinks of some other thing that I missed with these are just some of the big ones. Feel free to tag me and say a big point of value that you would say is an aspect of full-time streaming. But you need to represent all of these to some extent, I would say, to be successful as a streamer. You necessarily have to have community. You should have entertainment. I guess you could not teach anyone anything and you could just do the kind of train wreck style. So you don't necessarily need educational. So I guess you could cut a little bit of some of these, but you're going to need to represent some total value that's going to drive people to your page. So let's go over some of the just different elements here of what is involved in the business working, just having everything operate together. There's the income. And this was one of the things that got posted in the leak. They posted what was the pre-tax payouts for Twitch streamers. So they showed, what was it, September 2019 to September 2021. That was the date range, and they just dropped the raw value of dollars and cents. So down to the cent, it showed what people earned. And that showed a really, really wide range. You've got some people at the top who are making, say, millions of dollars per year. Then you've got some people who are making below minimum wage and everything in between. So for me, I would say I'm kind of right in the middle of a working class streamer where I can work doing this full time, but I do have to clock in basically 8 hours a day, about 5 days a week to pay my rent and expenses where I live. So I'm going to break that down for you and kind of show you how that works and how it's different from a conventional salary job. Stay hydrated. All right. Let's just throw out some random values here. Some random values that might be kind of close to the truth. So let's say in this leak, for example, you're a streamer and you made 100K over 2 years, just as an amount. If you do some amazing napkin math, that's 50K a year. 50K a year with just the end result of your gifted subs, your bits from cheers, your Twitch bounties, and your ad revenue. For me, my personal spread for this is going to be probably subscriptions, way greater than anything else, and that's going to include gifts. Do I have my browser up here? I can just take a look at this. Look at my analytics here. Yeah, you've got subs, prime subs, gifted subs, multi-month gifted subs. You've got ads. I make almost nothing from ads because I don't run them, but I do make something from it. And then you've got cheering. So these are bits. And then you've got Twitch bounties. And those would be whenever you play a sponsored game or you show a video or something that Twitch has put on the bounty board. It's a new system, but a lot of streamers are doing this. I think you have to be in the US or Canada to do bounties right now, but that's one of the elements of revenue that was in this Twitch payout, mass leak kind of a thing. So that's the money coming in, the different types of that from the Twitch payouts. What this leak did not include, if you're saying this is your Twitch revenue per year, would be stuff like coaching. So I have educational value as a part of mine. I coach people how to play Zerg. That's usually the main kind of coaching. I've also done mentality coaching, helping people think about situations and break them down in a way that they don't get quite so mad at the game and they have a more graceful and robust way of thinking. They can just handle their emotions better. But you've got your coaching, so this would be some kind of rate times the time. I don't do a ton of coaching, but I do some, so that would be a bit of my revenue that wasn't represented in the payout stuff. Another one that you would have could be, what is this? Did I miss anything? Sponsorships. Nice. So I got a cool World of Tanks sponsorship, and this could be some flat fee plus a bonus times the interaction. So if you're an influencer, you're a streamer, by showing something on stream, if you're having a fun with the game, people can see that, and that increases the chances that they want to invest in that game. So you can get a sponsorship where they say, I think you would be a good fit for our game. Your community might like this. So if you play this for an amount of time, we'll pay you this amount, and then the bonus times the interaction. This is very similar to the Twitch bounties. On a personal level for me, there are a whole bunch of sponsorships that I get flooding my email of shit that honestly I don't want you to get. I don't think it's good. But other streamers and other, say, Instagram influencers and stuff, they will take those. The categories for me that I just won't do, but other people will be very glad to do, because it is money on the table, right? You can save money, you can get fancier stuff for yourself, you can live in a fancier house if you take more sponsorships. I don't do the energy drink, gamer juice, stuff like that. There are a whole bunch of those that are very aggressively pushed as sponsorships to people. So if I don't think it's healthy and I wouldn't really invest in it myself to any extent, I usually just won't take those. So that's going to narrow things down for how much money I can make. You could call that stubborn, you could call that principled. It's up to you. And ultimately, every full-time streamer gets to choose their adventure of what you're willing to promote, what your principles and values are about, how you want to prioritize money versus doing what you want to do. Another thing with sponsorship too would be if you're being sponsored to do something, it's oftentimes not the thing that you like doing the most, which for me would be I like playing StarCraft and I like playing
Brunt Hefferton, Mr. on the Total War, the Mr. on the Tribe.
in Classic WoW. That's the shit that I really like doing. It's really fun for me. I can play other games, I can do the Twitch bounties, but it's pretty rare that I do a sponsored thing and it's like, man, that was so much better than what I normally do. Because if it was, I would just switch and do that as my main thing. Yeah, G Fuel Gamer Juice, heck that. You have a great Gamer Juice. So that's the thing is people can like that. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's an improvement over water or coffee. If you want to have a drink that gives you energy, that doesn't have a bunch of crap in it, have espresso, have black coffee, or have green tea, or some other kind of black tea, whatever. That'll give you some caffeine, give you a little bit of a boost. Doesn't have any of that stuff that I can't even pronounce. I don't like energy drinks, so I'm not going to sell those to people. Okay, so we got the coaching stuff. The cuts and the rakes. This is something that can vary from streamer to streamer. Just to break down some of these cuts and rakes. We'll just do this. We've got Twitch, which could be 50% goes to streamer, or 70%, or 80%, or whatever. Different streamers get different deals. The default is 50%. So if you're a streamer on Twitch and someone subscribes to your channel and you have affiliate and you have a sub button and everything, you get half and Twitch gets half. If you are on some team or you have like messaged Twitch and like negotiated a deal, you can get some higher percentage. A lot of the big streamers, they do have a better deal than just the 50%. So that's another factor that can pretty dramatically influence how much money you're making. Another thing would be stuff like Patreon. Patreon takes less of a rake. I think it's 90% ballpark. It might be slightly above or below that. So as a supporter of a channel, you can decide, okay, I like this stream, I like this business, I want it to continue. Where do I want to invest in this streamer? For your dollar, Patreon is really good. There's also PayPal, which is like 97-ish neighborhood. So that's very good. The thing about the Twitch investment though, if you're subscribing, you unlock things like badges, which show how long you've been supporting the streamer. It's also, it's accessible because you're already on the channel. So the button to subscribe is there. So it's easy to access. You don't have to click as much. Like you have to click a couple times to go here. You have to click a couple times to go here. But yeah, that's an example of some different rakes of stuff. With the Patreon support, people offer different stuff that can be not quite the same as their Twitch content. The TOS there is a little bit different. My Patreon is not any of the sexy stuff. It's my highest quality educational stuff. So I post my replay packs there, and I post my tutorials and guides, a lot of those things, and I post my notes that I take about what I'm working on. So that would be if you're really wanting to learn efficiently. And you also get an email if you're using Patreon and you're supporting. You get an email every time I make a post. So you would just have basically a replay pack in your inbox once a week. So that's how I use Patreon. People use this lots of different ways, but that's how I use it. With PayPal, you do get an alert on stream that says that you donated this much. It doesn't give you like emotes or other kinds of things like that, but it's a very efficient way of just directly supporting the streamer without too much of a cut or a rake for the house. Do you have an OnlyFans? I do not have that. That actually ties into something. I'm not sure if you're joking or not, but that ties into a concept called branding. And branding would be, how do you represent your persona and your brand as a business? So my business, you could call it Neuro. It's also in some places called NeuroZerg. And then in WoW, my character is Brunt. And Brunt is the one talking in all the videos. So we'll say that Brunt is part of the branding. For my branding, I try to be very wholesome and principled. I will do stuff like say the F word, like fuck, I'll say shit, just your standard run of the mill swear words. I abide Twitch TOS. I'm as polite as I can be when it comes to interacting with other people, and I try to put respect first. I'm not really into like creating lewd content. That's not something that I've ever gotten into. I respect people who choose to add that as part of their hustle. It's just not something that's part of my brand. And since I'm kind of someone who talks about principles and virtues a lot of the time, I don't know, it just seems like it's distant from where I'm working from right now. So I have no plans to make that kind of content, but some people do. And as long as they're following the rules, as an adult, they're free to conduct their business as they want to. So more power to them if they want to do that. From a big picture standpoint, the ethics of someone being able to produce content themselves would be an improvement over in the past. You've got studios and directors and stuff who honestly abuse a lot of their employees and talent. So civilization wise, I would say that it's progress. It's also more direct in terms of the cut and the rake. For someone who makes content like that, it's going to go more directly into their hands. It's going to still have some rake. Like if they're making content on a site, the site's going to take a cut and then they're going to get the rest. But they do get to be their own boss. So it's kind of like full-time streaming in the sense of you don't have a director or writers or stuff telling you all the stuff that you have to do. You can choose what you want to do. And that's one of the best things about this, honestly. So let's just add a couple points here in this big picture look, which would be the benefits. Like what are the benefits of streaming? Big benefits. Let's do a different color for this. I'm not really mindful of making sure all these colors go well together, so too bad. You have to deal with that. A big benefit would be freedom to make the content you want. So if I want to play StarCraft one day, I can play StarCraft. If I want to play WoW, I can play WoW. If I want to do a podcast, I can do a podcast. And for each day of the week, I can choose what content that I make. And that's amazing. I'm so grateful that I get to choose the kind of content that I make and that I don't have to do the content that my boss wants me to make. Now, if you want to be full-time and you want to pay rent, you can't just do random stuff all the time. You have to think about still meeting the minimum bar of value in being able to pay your rent and expenses and be able to live. If I played Apex Legends for 3 days of the week, and then I played Fortnite for 2 days, and then I played WoW for 1 day, and then I played some other random thing, I would make a lot less money based on my audience than if I played StarCraft most of the time and then WoW some of the time. Because people know me as Neuro, the Zerg, so they want to subscribe and they want to browse the StarCraft content. Some of them might enjoy my personality and they like watching me play other games, but that's going to be a subset of the total. So I need to be cognizant of, yes, I have freedom to make the content that I want, but every month I still have to pay my bills. What's another big benefit of streaming? I would say attention or recognition. You get so much attention streaming that it will make you mad. But on the other hand, you never feel like you go unnoticed. And that's something that some people struggle with, where they feel like the world doesn't care about them. Nobody notices them. They're kind of just in the shadow of other people. As a streamer, when you're mic'd up and you have a cam on you and you have people asking you questions all the time, you can be overwhelmed with the amount of attention that you get. But this comes with an asterisk, which I would say is it's not always the kind of attention that you want. And it's not the same as, like, I would call it a one-on-one face-to-face, because it's not an equal exchange. The streamer is mic'd up and they have a camera on them, but the viewers do not. And it's not like you're giving more of yourself as a streamer than they're showing of themselves in the chat. And that's just how the format is. So a streamer can't meet all of their social needs. I would argue that it's impossible to meet all your social needs just by being live on Twitch. Because when you're live, you're doing a performance, you're creating a product and you're running a business. If you need to have a heart-to-heart with someone, you can't really do that on stream to the same extent. I would say a lot of that is inappropriate. And you can't really be all of your full self all the time. You have to abide TOS. You have to make sure that people are being interacted with and everything. And it does feel like work to an extent, but you do get a lot of attention as a streamer. What's another big benefit of streaming? Say influence, which is a double-edged sword. You can influence people and set a good example or a bad example, but a lot of people would say influence is a positive. I would say it's kind of a net neutral thing like charisma, where if you have the ability to influence people, that's a neutral stat that can be used for good or for evil, depending on what you influence people to do. One of the things that I try to influence people to do that I would say is a big benefit for me is take responsibility for their mistakes and for their losses, and to be respectful of their opponent. Those are really, really core to what I want to bring to the internet, is just being a good influence to the audience so that they can be a good influence to other people. Many streamers, I would say, don't care. It seems like they don't care. I'm not sure. But they'll do stuff that is like a really bad example. They propagate a lot of stereotypes and just things that people have been doing wrong for a long time, and they just keep doing those, and they're not really mindful of, hey, by me making excuses for myself and being dishonest about why I lost, now suddenly the hundreds or thousands of people who are watching me, they're going to be making the same excuses in their games. And this can be hilarious in how it's translated. You'll have, say, a player who's GM or someone who's pro, and they lose a match and they just rant about balance for 10 minutes, 20 minutes about how it's so unfair, blah, blah, blah. This person playing at the highest level, they're very good at the game, and that rant that they just went on might be the first thing that comes to mind when their viewer gets in that same matchup. Say Terran versus Protoss. We can just tease the Terrans a little bit. There's a Terran player who loses a match and they complain about Protoss for half an hour. The Terran who's listening to that stream or watching the stream will get in their games, play a Protoss, lose, and then the first thing that comes into their mind is, well, this matchup isn't very fair anyway, is it? That's part of the influence of being a streamer, is people are going to echo, consciously or subconsciously, what you do. So that would be, I would say, another asterisk here, where it's not a full benefit for me, it's also an element of pressure, because I'm trying to make sure I'm consistent with my principles and my values, and I'm not messing it up. But honestly, that's kind of intense and exhausting, because I need to make sure I never slip and BM other people, because that would betray my principles and that would set a bad influence. I'm always consistently positive with other people, and I try to uplift them and be inspiring. I don't always feel inspired every day of the week, every hour of the day. But when you're streaming, you want to try to bring your best if you can, because it's a performance. So yeah, influence could be a big benefit. You can think about some other benefits. We could say the less amazing parts of being a full-time streamer. And we can pull some from here. I already have some things in mind. The less amazing parts. Do we have a poopy brown? Great. What are some less amazing parts here? You would say the what would you call that? Employee support? You're not really an employee as a full-time streamer. I'm not employed by Twitch in the sense that I am salaried. I get no salary from Twitch. I get no health insurance from Twitch. All of that stuff is on your own. So you're kind of like an Uber driver of entertainment on the internet, where you get paid based on what people invest in you for the work that you're doing. You're not being paid by Uber directly. You're basically earning it with every amount that you work, and then that site or entity takes a cut. And that makes a lot of other stuff more expensive. So when you're looking at these raw values here, say these numbers here for fun. You also have to subtract stuff like taxes because you have to pay self-employment taxes on that. And you also have to pay for all of your own health insurance and that kind of thing. So let's just do some fun napkin math for a second, just to get a sense of what the money might look like. For example, let's say you make 50K a year, raw. Let's just say it's raw payouts plus your Patreon, your PayPal, your YouTube, all that kind of stuff. Divided by 12 months. We'll think about months. So you're making some money every month. Cool. This is pre-tax. The tax that you have to pay, it's going to depend on where you are. That could be state tax. That could be federal tax. It can vary dramatically based on where you live. Let's just give a random number just to kind of cut this down and see how the number changes over time. Let's multiply this by a 0.8. Let's say we get 20% tax. You could debate all day about how much tax people should pay, but we're paying taxes. There's some taxes that we paid. You can have deductions too. That's a whole conversation in and of itself. I'm not an expert on that, but it's cool that there are all threes there. I just noticed that. What's another thing that streamers have to pay for themselves? Well, you have to pay for health insurance. What do you pay per month for health insurance? Do you know? Does your work provide it? I know what I have to pay. Let's just say you have to pay somewhere between $300 and $500 a month. This can vary based on where you live and if you have any pre-existing conditions, and also the level of health insurance protection that you want for yourself. Throw out a random number. Let's say we're going to minus $450. Let's just do that. Minus $450 a month for health insurance. Cool. We have to pay that every month if we want to maintain health insurance for ourselves, as it's not included in the work. What about dental, eye insurance? Let's just grab another like 50 to 100. Let's say 75. Sure. So we just grab that off the top. Oh boy. What about this events and travel thing that we have here? Events and travel, sometimes you're in a position where you get invited to something and they give you flight, room, and board. That's a fantastic trip. They pay for everything, but you can't really stream to the same extent that you could when you're working from home as a broadcaster, which means your income from your subscriptions drops, your PayPal, your Patreon, all that stuff can drop some, and you end up having to just eat that as an expense. So less amazing parts, employee support, no healthcare, no paid vacation. We get exactly 0 days of vacation time per year. Can you believe that? There's an amazing quote from a fellow streamer in the StarCraft scene, Livy B. She said, streamers don't take vacation, they retire and come out of retirement. It's kind of a joke, but it's also completely true. In that we don't get, 2 weeks and you still get paid your normal amount. We get nothing. So whenever I leave, there's a sub count that happens. Like I see the sub count when I leave. I know that when I get back, it's going to be less. Just throwing out a random number. This could be, say you have like 1,500 subscribes and then you take a week off and then you walk back, or you show up again after a week and you've got 1,250. It would be a very, very normal progression here, because a week could be gift sub bombs happening here. People resubscribe. Maybe a new person discovers your channel and you gain some subscriptions. So you have things like this that happen, and you have no backup or coverage for that. So no paid vacation, any travel, anything like that, you have to pay for all of that yourself and budget that in. So we could just say, maybe you want to spend $2K a year. We'll just say an easy number to go with the 12. Let's say you want to spend $2,400 per year on vacation. Cool. That would be how much a month? $200 a month. So let's just minus another 200 here. Okay, cool. What else do you have here? Let's do the art, the assets, and the equipment. So for this, we've got cool stuff like the Brunt art that I have, which is very high res, super high quality. Shout out to Dimitsuru on Twitter. He was the one who, or they're the one who did that, pronoun, sorry. They did Brunt and Braun, and they did my fellow streamer Apoptosis's Rogues art. So if you want to have really high quality art assets, let's just say this is also stuff like thumbnails. And then if you want to have some art piece for your t-shirts and your merch, you have to pay for that. So let's throw out a random number per year, $600 a year-ish. So we'll say 50 a month. So we'll get 50 off that. Okay, cool. What else do we want to consider here? Equipment. So equipment, if you're a streamer, you need to make sure that you're not necessarily at the bleeding edge of technology. You don't need the best computer every year. You don't need the best microphone every year, but you need to be on a tier where it's decent. Thank you, Moss, for linking that. I'll just put that in this too. Boom. Burp. Does this work? Yeah, nice. Okay, equipment. So headphones. You need to have decent headphones or speakers, but speakers will bleed into your mic. Get headphones. A microphone, monitors, which can break, cables, which can break, a camera, which you want to make sure that's current, but that can also break. Your computer has some lifespan that's not infinity. I probably replace a computer from streaming once every 3 years-ish, which is probably about par. Throw out a random number. Let's say for a year, equipment costs, we'll go with, what, 600? We can go with 800. Should be what, 75-ish? We'll just subtract 75 and call that good. So that's our equipment. 75 times 12, whatever. We don't need to be perfect with this math. This is more of an estimate. Another one that we have here would be cost of living. This is going to include groceries. This is going to include rent. Everyone has to pay this. I'm just kind of factoring in how everything works. So let's say your monthly rent. I live in Seattle, which is relatively more expensive than a lot of other states. It's still cheaper than some other places like Hawaii or many places in California, New York and stuff. Those can be really expensive. Let's just minus 1,800. So we've subtracted the health insurance, the dental and all that kind of stuff. We factored in some approximate taxes. We factored in some approximate rent. And this would be something close to the take home. And this can all be fine-tuned, right? Where you can get a little bit more economical health insurance. You can fine-tune your rent by living in a cheaper place. Oh, let's do food as well. What do you spend on groceries a month? What do you spend, chat? $100, $300, $200? Let's say $200 a month. We got some organic apples in that mix. So cool. We factored in groceries, rent, health insurance, travel, gear, assets, all that kind of stuff. And the take home is not that big. And that's something that people might not realize with these raw values that were shown with the Twitch payout was it's not just like the person is sitting on that amount of money. Like it's all fun money. They still have to pay for a lot of stuff themselves. So you're running your own business. Ooh, cost of quality internet. Thank you. Absolutely. That is something that you cannot live without under any circumstances whatsoever. If your upload is not good enough, you cannot run a streaming business, period. Funny story. When I was moving to Austin, I was going to check out this apartment place and they were listed as having Google Fiber. And I was like, oh yeah, fiber internet. That's the good stuff, right? Gig up, gig down. Sign me up. And we're touring the place. We're touring this nice apartment complex, and I'm like, "Oh, can I see the fiber?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, go in the master bedroom closet." Go in the closet. Google Fiber box. Oh, fantastic. Great. All right. Well, this looks good. Like the floor plan was nice. It was what we're looking for. The location is good. The place looks clean. It's relatively new. Google Fiber, sign the lease, moving in, setting it up. Call the Google Fiber people. Heck yes. Can we get some internet? No. Excuse me. I have a Google Fiber thing here. Oh, you're in building X? Yes. Oh, we didn't do that building. The cables aren't there. Oh. Is it going to get done? No, we pulled out. We're not doing that. Oh, okay. So, okay. I guess I need to get some slower internet. Fortunately, it was good enough that I was able to still stream and it wasn't too bad. I think my upload there was like ballpark of 50 megabits per second, which is probably fine. Most people could get away with that if it's stable. If you don't have fiber internet, it's going to be down for a greater number of number of days per year, which brings me to another point of random internet outages causing you to not be able to work. Let's just subtract another 50 off the top here. Due to internet outages of being unable to work. For me now with fiber, that's maybe about, let's say, 1 to 3 days a year. My internet here is very good and I'm super grateful. And one of the strats that I did when I was moving up here to the Seattle area was I just went to a fiber company's website and I just searched through the different complexes that they provided fiber to because it's that important. So let's say your internet cost per month is $100 if you're getting fiber. Oh, we're at another Mass 3. That's beautiful. So we paid for internet, we paid for travel and expenses with a pretty modest, like not traveling too much, not being too ridiculous about it. And this would be kind of your fun money or spending money at the end for take home. Let me know if I missed anything, but I think that's ballpark what the money flow looks like for me, relatively speaking. The numbers I'm giving here are not exactly what I pay, but it's not that far off. And the reason I'm showing numbers that are kind of close to what I make is because it got leaked anyway, so people know roughly what I make. And they don't know what all the back end stuff looks like, which is really important for being able to be successful and just stay afloat with live streaming. So there are some people I saw in the comments who were like, I can't believe people would be throwing money at millionaires and blah, blah. They're so stupid giving people this money. And they have this attitude like they're very clever if they watch a stream a whole bunch, but they never subscribe. That makes them smart or something. Fam, if nobody does that, if nobody subscribes, then the business does not keep going. So like making 50K over a year with streaming, that's not going to mean that you're rolling in money. If you're making 100K, I'm sure you could like have more per month, but a lot of people who are streaming, who are say in the viewer range of like, I don't know, the hundreds, but below the thousands, that's kind of like your working streamer where they can pay rent and expenses. One thing that I didn't mention with all this, because I live alone, is you have, some people have pets, some people have a spouse or a partner, some people need to support a partner or a spouse, some people have kids, you've got other different kinds of things that you might have to pay for if you're also doing streaming. And many people who work at a business, you can get some kind of deal where you get health insurance coverage for your family. With streaming, that does not exist. So you have to pay for all of that yourself. And this raises some questions too about, is this format good? Like, is this how it should be over time? One of the things that I've talked with some other streamers about that we don't think is good would be this one especially. This one is kind of messed up. Uppetry mentioned, hey, if you want to, whenever you're out of town, if we want to trade stream keys where I can stream on your channel a couple times, keep the ball rolling, keep the momentum going. Obviously, you would need to trust someone a lot to be able to hand them a stream key, but that would be a way that you could cover for someone else. I don't think you can stream to 2 places at once. So that's a question mark there. So he would have to sacrifice his stream on his channel to do a big favor for someone else. So that would still be basically a net loss for streamers. But yeah, that would be something that I'd say would be nice, is if we could have some kind of scenario where we get vacation time and we don't really have to stress about the subs and what have you. If Streamer could generate temporary stream keys for that purpose, that would be pretty cool. If there could be like a kind of how you have a Discord invite, that the invite lasts for 24 hours, you could give someone access for a limited amount of time. Yeah, Streamer as a job is very stressful if you're not making a ton of money. Another thing too is that these numbers, like the 50K a year, as a random example, that is not going to always be the same every month. You're going to have some average, but for a given day of stream, you could say, this is another less amazing thing, volatile / unpredictable income. I've had streams, and there was one this past month, which I'm very grateful for and super lucky. Someone gifted 100 subs. 100 subscriptions. That is massive. And I'm just streaming here doing my normal thing, and they throw 100 gifted subs down. And then they did it again. And then they did it again. And it's like, man. And people, if they're watching the stream that day, they're like, holy shit, this person is rolling in money. Like, what are they heckin' doing? Why do I subscribe when someone's throwing these hundreds of subscriptions here? Well, I'll tell you why. Because some days you make $25. You make not enough at that rate to be able to pay your rent and expenses. And that's kind of scary. Like, it's kind of scary if the amount that you're making over a day or a couple days would not be sustainable for yourself. And you basically have to put faith in your community and also in your ability as an individual to be consistently cranking out content and value for these viewers and your community. You have to be putting faith in all of that to press on and say, I believe that I will be able to pay rent at the end of the month because I think my average is good enough. And that's a point that ties into the big picture thing, which I wanted to draw a beautiful thing for you here, which is a nice, where's this thing? Get this picture. This. We need some lines. Let's just do white for this. Boom. And this one. This is not good. That's fine. Okay. Let's say this is time down here. What are you doing? Time. Say year 0. Boom. Brap. Oops. What? Did I hit tab or something? Whatever. I can do this. These are the years of streaming, and I will draw for you roughly what my income has looked like. What in the earth happened there? What happened? You were the chosen one. Okay. I'm aware that this probably hurts some people to see how difficult it is for me to use MS Paint, but too bad. It's going to mess it up if I do that. I just know it. Okay. This represents year and then the number of the year. This is time. And this, we'll say this is money. Just put a fancy dollar sign here. Dollar sign. Bam. Bam. That's some money right there. All right. So you want to be a full-time streamer, right? I'm going to show you what you would make. I'm going to use a nice red brush here. This is time. We'll say this is the beginning of your streaming career. And I'll just draw what mine looks like roughly. Year 1. I meant to put this at 0. This is 0. It's basically 0 until year 2. Let's just do some benchmarks here. White again. We'll say part-time job is here. So this would pay like a part-time job where if you're at this level right here, you can't live on your own. You would need to have some help or you would need to have another job. And we'll say this is full-time job. Okay, now we'll go back to the amazing brush. Brush is red. Year 2. Oh my God. That's almost a part-time job, but it's not. Year 3. Holy smokes. And we're making Twitch Partner. Wow, we made Twitch Partner and it's like a part-time job. Incredible. Can you pay rent? Are you a major success? In some senses, you are a success because you got Twitch Partner and a lot of people watch your channel. So you get these things. And also these things. And also you're not making as much as a part-time job or you just made that. There's a viewer, supporter named Tavaxian in the chat. It was around this period here where my partner who I was living with at the time was not making heaps of money and I was not making heaps of money either. And we were in a tough spot and we had to get bailed out by a very generous supporter who said, I don't want your business to fail. That's pretty scary. Thank you, Tavaxian, for saving the Neuro Enterprises. We will never forget you. If you see Tavaxian in the chat, know that the stream is kept alive based on a generous thing he did like 4 years ago. But that's part of like trying to break into this part-time to full-time job thing. But it steadily kind of kept creeping up here. And then, oh, we're doing pretty well now. There was the Neuro Burrow meme that Destiny retweeted. And we were at the team house with Polt, Violet, and Jack Attack. And we made guides. And then, oh my goodness, the War Chest promotion. We're in the Blizzard launcher. We're doing lessons and we're getting in the launcher. People are watching all of this and we're in the thousands and thousands of viewers. There's Twitch rivals and all of this. But then Blizzard stops the funding of StarCraft. There's no more War Chest promotion. There's still people who hang out and they saw the War Chest promotion and stuff, but they only tuned in for the benefits and the drops and whatever points that they needed to unlock the skins and that kind of thing. So the money goes down. This was a very sad and questionable time for me because I was thinking, look at me go. I am now a 1,000 viewer streamer. That's how many viewers I get every day when I turn on my broadcast. What a fucking god, dude. We're rich. This is how life's gonna be. I've made it. Little did I know, a lot of that was based on temporary boosts to my income that were not like long-term, sustainable, and permanent additions to my channel. I had temporary viewers who tuned in for a temporary reason, and yeah, that went away. So rip. So it's going down here. And I was getting all sad and stuff, feeling bad for myself. And being like, did I miss out? Did I do something wrong? Did I not retain the viewers well enough? But then I realized something, and that was that the people who have been supporting me here are still here. And I stabilized. I stabilized at a full-time job. I can still pay my rent and expenses and stuff. So it didn't drop down to the floor and now I'm doomed because there's no more promotion. It just meant that this was a spike that wasn't going to be forever. But that was my first massive spike. And I had never had one before, so I didn't know how it was going to feel and how I should react to it, and that I could not rely on that. So what I learned from that, and what any up-and-coming streamer is going to have to learn, either through advice or the hard way, is that you're going to have some spikes that don't represent a permanent pay raise. So with this kind of stuff here, like if you have a conventional salary job, you get a pay raise, that's your income moving forward, unless you get fired or something weird happens. With streaming, that's not the case. You get these swings of income that can go up and they can go down like the heckin' weather. And you have to press on. So I bounced back here with gratitude for the lovely people who are in this demographic here, like right here. These people stayed. All these people here stayed. These people here, God bless them, David, Kim, whatever, they did support my channel and they did help me, but not in the, I'm here for you, I like your personality, I want to keep tuning in, your channel is a regular part of my browsing behaviors. And that's fine. That's their freedom as individuals. I don't want people forced to watch my channel. That's weird. So viewers like this and the spikes, they'll come and go. This would be kind of your core and your base that are here to stay. And the cool thing is, and the thing that's really inspiring, is that even though Blizzard pulled out of putting in new war chests and adding new co-op commanders and expansion packs, and the map production is slower and the patches are slower, it's still basically like this. So I'm basically at a steady state sort of point here, where my income will vary a little bit. You could kind of squiggle it like this for the good months and the bad months. But it's been stable here for a good bit of time. And I'm super grateful for that. So everyone who's supported, you've subscribed, maybe you subscribed for a period like in here, but then you lost your job and you unsubscribed. That's fine. I'm still grateful for this, because this was a really important period in my career and it helped me pay the rent and expenses and stuff along the way. So this kind of raises another question too of how did I stream through this period here? This would be Kukio. So Kukio was my best friend in university, and he was working kind of your standard job, office job with a lot of tech involved. So it's a relatively high paying job. And I had just finished my degree and I wanted to get into full-time poker. And I finished university. So it's like, hey, do you want to just train poker and we'll move to Canada and try to have an adventure and stuff. So we went to Canada. I played poker full time. I built a bankroll from $200 up to multiple orders of magnitude higher than that. Still not living the ritzy life buying boats and shit, but enough that I increased it by a very substantial amount. And I would say that I mastered poker to an extent that I developed a respect for the game, and I learned a bunch of hard lessons, and I developed a really strong mindset that I then got to share with StarCraft. And there was a key question that I asked Kukio along the way, because with poker I was making money and I was able to represent contributing to the estate or whatever where we're living. I said, hey, if we're moving back to the US and we're not in Canada anymore, I don't really want to be a career criminal because it's illegal to play online poker in most states in the US. Would you support me if I wanted to push mentality and mindset that I learned from poker on Twitch and streaming in StarCraft and stuff? And he said, yes, I believe in you. I believe that you can do that, and I believe that that's a worthwhile cause. You demonstrated sufficient improvement in mastery of poker that I can just pay for the internet and pay for the rent, and as long as you're cool and chill and hanging out and stuff, then sure, go pursue your dreams. So he's basically the patron that covered all of this right here. This period right here would have been credit to Kukyo. And a lot of people who get into streaming, they have some situation like that, where maybe their partner supports them for a bit and they get to push, maybe they live with their parents, but you obviously can't live off of this stuff here. So there's going to need to be something that gets you from making nothing from streaming to covering the difference here between part-time and full-time until you get to here. So thank you, Kukyo. Love you, man. Thank you to Vaxian for helping us with the issue that we had here. And then in this realm right here, you've got someone like a Triforce Trader who's like the #1 supporter. His support is like a really big percentage of this with the gifted subscriptions and that kind of thing. That's a lot. And it's not really like just a flex or anything. What he's basically doing when he gifts a whole bunch of subs is he's covering for the kind of people who maybe they did get unemployed from COVID and they don't have enough money to support. Maybe they still love the channel and they want to hang out and stuff, but I can't pay rent with a follow and a viewer. I have to pay rent with a subscriber and a coaching lesson and a Patreon supporter and that kind of thing. Like, it's good to be passionate about what you're doing, but you do have to pay healthcare, rent, expenses, gear, art assets, all of that shit. So yeah, basically this is a big picture look at full-time streaming, how it works, what it looks like to kind of build a stream from scratch, the kinds of value that you would want to have. There's a word that I would also add to this, which would be thinking about your edges. We'll just add this as kind of a capstone, I guess. Edges. Boom. Burp. Burp. I think it was this one. So your edges as a broadcaster would be things that you have to think about that distinguish you from other channels. On Twitch, there are hundreds of thousands of people who stream. There are so many people who stream. It's easy to stream. All you need is OBS, which is free, an internet connection. You don't even need a camera or a microphone, technically. You just need to be able to push some kind of upload to Twitch. So how do you get all of these in a way that people decide to subscribe? You have to do something that's unique and that's different from what other people were doing. So when I was asking Kukyo, hey, do you believe in me? I did tell him what the edge was going to be. I said, mindset. So my whole bag on my first trajectory here was a road to GM with a good mindset. And GM would be a big edge because that's skill, which we talked about this with educational value. My edge would be mindset. Maybe some people think I'm funny too, and they like my sense of humor. That could be an edge for people who like, say, Monty Python style silly humor, that kind of thing. But being able to lose gracefully, I think, is one of my strongest edges as a StarCraft streamer and a competitive gamer. I don't even have the instinct to blame balance much anymore because I see my mistakes as they happen. They're recorded in their lives, so it feels dishonest for me to blame Void Rays or David Kim or something when I know that I was supply blocked at 36. So if you want to stream and if you want to stand out, you need to do some stuff better than what your peers are doing. You can't just do the same thing that other people are doing. If you do the exact same thing, you're just streaming from behind because you're trying to make the same kind of content as other people, but late into the game. And people would prefer to just go with their habits, their inertia of, I've watched this big streamer in the past, so whenever I go to Twitch, I go to their channel because I know it's going to be good for what I'm looking for. So you need to really stand out. What was my other main edge? That would have been raw hours. The hours that I put in, in this period were, you could say, unhealthy, maybe, but I did get plenty of sleep. I would call them weird. I was streaming in this, we'll call this like season 1, season 2, or arc 1, arc 2 of Neuro. I was streaming like 16-hour blocks, and then I would sleep 10 to 11-hour blocks. The downside of this would be that the intensity of my content would be much lower after, say, hour 10. I can't be as hyped. I can't have as good of diction. I can't be talking constantly if I'm streaming for that long. So if someone tunes in the back half of my stream, it's not going to be my most energetic self, but it was still good enough to catch follows. So my goal was, I want to put in more hours than every other StarCraft streamer in the game and catch as many follows as I can at as many time zones as I can with this edge of mindset, and we'll call it good. And that was basically my strat for streaming and building a business and stuff. So, yeah, this is pretty much the big picture of full-time streaming. We covered a lot of stuff. These days, I'm doing more like 8 hours a day, 6 days a week-ish. Whenever I started mixing in the WoW content, my revenue went down pretty substantially, and I knew that it would go down. And the math that I did was I had to make sure that it didn't go down so much that I couldn't pay rent anymore. But I did want to invest in a new type of content, so I'm not all in on just one thing. Fortunately, the StarCraft community and the passion and stuff is still very strong and consistent. So StarCraft is where basically 90% of the bread is made, 95%. Some people really enjoy Brunt and they'll subscribe when Brunt is on. But when I'm on Brunt, I'm oftentimes trying to be the best tank that I can, which is more about interacting well with my raid rather than interacting with my chat. And that's just a personality thing. I watched some streamers like Asmongold, a really big streamer. I don't watch his stream super closely, so maybe I'm wrong about this, but I noticed that a lot of times the streamer who's playing WoW is talking to their chat more than they're listening to and talking to the raid. To me, that seems disrespectful to the raid, but if his raid is all his viewers, then it's more or less fine. But that's not the kind of guild that I'm in now. And that ties into one of the final points that I wanted to mention with all this, which is community management. If you're going to be a streamer, you have a community, and you have to make sure that community represents you in a good way, and you have to make sure that they're happy and they get along well. It's kind of like being a teacher of a class or a coach of a team or that kind of a thing. If you have two viewers who get in a fight, you're the streamer, you can make the call on that. You can have mods who you trust assist you with that and support you in making sure that your principles and your values and stuff are all upheld and the rules are enforced and that kind of thing. And that's something that doesn't pay any money at all. But if you don't do any community management, it's going to be like a bunch of unruly children just kind of running about and screaming. So community management for me would be guild leadership of creation, which super heckin' proud of this guild. We cleared all of the vanilla content, including Kel'Thuzad and Nax, and we're like 2 bosses away from clearing all the phase 2 stuff, running 2 raids now in BC. It's been incredible. It doesn't pay money, turns out. So the content may be fun. I get to make Brunt tutorials and guides, but it doesn't pay to message people on Discord about some fight that happened. That doesn't give me money to pay rent, but it needs to be done, or someone needs to do it. So I would say that things like that, they can expand your skill set as a person, your character as a person, and just your knowledge and experience. I've gained a lot of leadership experience through this. So I'm very glad that I've expanded into Burning Crusade Classic and WoW Classic. But yeah, that's kind of my trajectory overall. What I would like to expand into more would be some more generalized mindset stuff. I've done videos on this in the past, and I do have some MS Paint guides and that kind of a thing. But one of the things that's tough to bridge the gap on is I have all my mindset stuff in StarCraft. Dota people, do you think there are any Dota 2 people who have issues with their mindset and they could benefit from losing gracefully and taking responsibility? Do you think there are any League of Legends players who could maybe be improved in their skills and in their character by not being a poo-poo head? Many people would say yes to that. But how do I get there? How do I get that to them? I don't know. Why haven't you offloaded the community management to someone else if it doesn't pay money? Because then it would be their community. They can't. A moderator can be very good at knowing what streamer would do here or there, but the more that they do for you, the more that it becomes like a job where you should be paying them. Oh, that reminds me, one thing that I forgot to factor in here was paying people who help you with stuff. Agent Smith, he gets paid for his time. His time is very valuable. He has a huge knowledge base that I don't have. So when he shows up on Sunday, he gets paid every time. But that comes out of my earnings directly to him. Where am I losing people? I'm not really losing people. My metrics are very, very stable, which I'm really grateful for. So the people who like me, they tend to stick around. And I would say I bleed people at a similar rate to gaining people. The past couple months have been good. This past week, I made no money because I was at the beach and we don't have paid vacation. It's great to hear. It is. It's heckin' great. I'm super grateful. I was thinking about this, like whenever I go on a beach vacation like this, I'll take a run by myself and I'll think about stuff. Just where am I in life? How am I doing? There was the Twitch leak and things like that of everyone's revenue getting posted. I'm not making XQC levels of money. I'm not making the Miskiff and the Hassan or whatever the top streamers are making. I'm not up there. But I fucking like what I do more than what they do. So I'm happy. I'm not like, oh man, I'm just a poor streamer who's not. Fuck that. Into the sun. This is excellent. I get to listen to metal music, jam out. I get to spam Zerg Ladder, play Torn Warrior and Classic WoW. It's some good shit. That's some good shit right there. We can't play Despacito anymore, though. The more popular the music is, the more angry the DMCA police get. How do you deal with the opportunity cost of having less broadly marketable skills in the event the streamer gig eventually becomes unsustainable? My good dear friend, entertainment and acting skills have value in many places, not just on Twitch. Now, I could do acting stuff. If all else fails, I can play my viola on the streets and sing to people. I have skills. I have a bachelor's degree, so if the world collapses in on itself or whatever, I can't stream anymore for some reason, I have skill sets and I have talents, and I believe that I will find a way to survive. It might not be my first choice, but I could do some other stuff. Another thing too, long-term trajectory of streaming. The younger generations are using the internet more and more competently than the older generations. So things like live streaming, they should go up over time, whereas stuff like book reading, unfortunately, is likely down. It's a very kind of snappy, fast-paced content. So if I like what I do and I like being an entertainer, that category should not go away. There could be a competitor that comes up, say YouTube streaming is already a thing, that could grow up to a similar size of Twitch, could be a competitor. People can make decisions about that kind of a thing. But being able to entertain an audience, lead, manage a community, create content, I'm getting better at a lot of this stuff. As you may have noticed in the late hour of year 7, we have Twitch thumbnails again, which I had in the past. Shout out to Salut Bouton, who's in the chat, and Ono SC2. I didn't have that for a long period of time because I thought that it was a game that you shouldn't have to play. Why should you need clickbait thumbnails when the content of your video should speak for itself? But this was naive, because if your thumbnails are low effort, then people are going to think that your video is low effort. So that's a thing that you got to invest in. If you want to do this kind of content creation stuff, you got to make sure your stuff is polished. Audio is polished. Video is polished. Your entertainment and your presence and your persona, all of that needs to be consistently strong and good. Your videos need to be good. Your presentation of everything needs to be good. And you got to hustle and you got to keep it up. But we're keeping it going. Channel Points is saying to us, I just talked basically nonstop without breaks for an hour and a half. I would prefer not to right now. I sing sometimes. But this has been a 1 hour and 20-minute presentation on full-time streaming. Inspired by all of my income, or at least most of my income, being posted to Reddit. So I can now make content about stuff that normally would be private. But hopefully this helped you get a greater perspective on how streaming works, where the money comes in, how you can succeed, how you can fail, and just the overall landscape. So thank you. Thank you. And if you support, let me just give a shout out to wrap it up. Shout out to wrap it up. If you subscribe Alignment, thank you. I can now pay rent and I can pay for my health insurance because you subscribed. If you chat, when you're in the chat and you talk and the chat moves, that makes the streamer happy. Because if the chat is dead and it does not move, the streamer is sad. They feel like nothing of value is happening and no one cares. So even if you have no money, you have no job, you can't subscribe, being in the chat helps. It doesn't even need to be saying something that's trying to be positive. Just being active and talking, that's good. Anyone who watches a YouTube video, hello YouTube, thank you. That helps me. It helps the algorithm. All should feed the algorithm. I've learned that the algorithm is basically like a demigod of YouTube. And if you want your content to succeed, it's not about making the best content. It's about making the best offerings to the demigod algorithm. And what are the ways to appease the algorithm? You could offer it a sacrifice of watching the full video, or you could offer another sacrifice of liking the video, disliking the video. What? Disliking the video helps. So if you're hating on my shit, thank you. I would like another. If you comment, that helps. If you comment on someone else's comment, that helps. If you share the video, that helps. If you talk in the Discord, like the Neuro Discord, that helps. If you raid in our WoW guild, I see you there, TLRE. See you, Tebow, in the chat. That helps me. I have to spend time to fill raids and invite people and make sure the guild is afloat. So if you raided, you just helped me in the business. Time is money. That's like subscribe Alive. But y'all are awesome. Thank you very much. I genuinely respect that individual choice. When a person chooses, I invest in this streamer, I invest in this business instead of Hulu, or in addition to Hulu, instead of some other fun money expense, because you don't have to subscribe. You could buy another shitty energy drink that's going to give you health problems, but you subscribed instead. Appreciate that. And if you're gifting subscribes and going above and beyond, thank you. If you have any questions about this, we'll talk to you after it and you can comment in the comments. Yeah, live streaming 101, 201, big picture stuff. Looking under the hood of what it takes to be a streamer, because the hood was lifted for every streamer for the past 2 years due to poor internet security. GG, y'all.